You're not failing, you're not behind, but leadership feels heavier than it used to, or that it should. Decisions that should be simple aren't. You're second-guessing calls that you would have made in a heartbeat a few years ago, and you're tired. Not from the work, but from something that you can't quite name. And if this is you, stay with me. Because if you're going to trust me with something as personal as how you lead, you should know what's underneath all of this work for me. So today, I'm not teaching. There's no framework. There's no strategy. And I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you why I do what I do. And I'm recording this both as a LinkedIn Live and a podcast episode on purpose. Because I wanted, what I'm about to share, I wanted it unedited. I wanted it real. And I wanted not something that's polished into something safe. So if you're watching this on LinkedIn, welcome to A Leader's Purpose podcast. My name is Tami. I'm your host. And you're listening later, well, you're getting exactly what happened live. So let me start with something that I deeply believe. We're not just in a new leadership environment. We are in a new leadership atmosphere. The pace, the pressure, the AI accelerating everything. Decisions that used to take weeks now take hours and sometimes minutes. Teams want meaning, not just metrics. There's high visibility, constant information, and expectations that you have to answer to, even when the ground keeps shifting. And traditional leadership models were built for stability, for predictability, and for a different kind of oxygen. That oxygen does not exist anymore. And most leaders are still running on operating systems that was built for a world that's already gone. So when leadership feels heavier than it should, it's not because you're broken. It's because you're trying to lead in an unstable atmosphere with a system that was built for steady ground. And I know what it's like, not because I've read about it, it's because I've lived it. About 14 years ago, my husband Dee, a fighter pilot, left on deployment. And 2 weeks into his deployment, there was an accident and he didn't come home. I got that knock on the door, and in that one moment, everything I thought was stable collapsed. I still had to lead. I still had to make decisions. I still had to show up for my kids, for my team, for my family, for my life. And for life, it had to keep moving even when nothing inside me was steady. I learned how to perform. I learned how to make everything look like it was okay while everything inside was still rebuilding. But eventually, performing wasn't enough. I had to actually rebuild from the inside out. And here's what that rebuild taught me. When everything external is unstable, you cannot depend on external stability to feel steady. Let me say that again. When everything external is unstable, you can't depend on external stability to feel steady. You have to go to the source. I had to find my foundation, my why, my core motivations, the things that drove my reactions, the things that drove my decisions, not because of the role I was playing, but because of who I actually was and who I wanted to be. And when I did it, everything shifted. Decisions got faster. They weren't reckless. They were aligned. I stopped second guessing from insecurity and started deciding from clarity. And tactics and strategies that used to feel heavy, they got lighter, not because the stakes changed, but because I wasn't carrying the weight of performance anymore. And I stopped asking, what would a good leader do here? And I started asking, what do I see? And what do I know needs to happen? And that's a different kind of leadership. That's leading from an operating system, not like with your operating system, not against it. And here's why I'm telling you this. You're leading in an unstable atmosphere too. Maybe your ground hasn't collapsed the way mine did, but it's shifting constantly. The rules keep changing, the expectations keep rising, and the pace doesn't slow down. You got the promotion, but your operating system didn't get the upgrade. Just like with your cell phones, how all of a sudden apps stop working or they stop linking to things, and you need to, do the automatic upgrade, or you need to update your operating system on your phone. Your leadership operating system means the same thing. So you're leading from a version of yourself that was built for the last role, the last level, the last atmosphere. And instead of rebuilding, you're performing, doing what you think a leader at your level should do, at this level should do, instead of leading from who you actually are. That's why decisions feel heavy. That's why they don't settle. That's why you're replaying conversations at 10 p.m. or you are preparing for a meeting on Sunday evening. That's decision drag. It's not because you're broken. It's because you're running an outdated software in a new atmosphere. I had a client. She was a CEO and she was about 10 months into her role, and she hired me because she was exhausted and she thought she needed better work-life balance. It turns out she wasn't even burned out from her job. She was burned out from decisions that wouldn't settle. Once she saw what her operating system was protecting, everything shifted and changed for her. Decisions started landing and her team took ownership. She didn't want to be the CEO that ordered people around, but by doing that, it felt like they weren't allowed to take the ownership. So when she upgraded her operating system, the decisions started landing and they were able to. They didn't depend on her as much. And so the work-life balance that she thought she needed, she got it, but not by working less, by leading from alignment and trusting her people to take ownership. And I refuse to build leaders or guide leaders who depend on external stability to feel steady. Because in this atmosphere, external stability is not coming. We have to go to the source. And this is why I do the work that I do. Not to make leaders feel better, but to make decisions hold in an atmosphere that is constantly shifting and that won't stop moving. And if any of this is resonating, stay close, hang out with me. I'm going to go live more often on LinkedIn to talk about decision drag. And there's also something deeper coming soon, something that I think that will help you understand how to get this upgrade that you need. And just thank you so much for letting me share this with you and sharing a little bit of my heart of why I do what I do. Because I do find this work is what lights me up so much. It matters to me so much. I can see what is happening. And when I see a leader who is struggling, not from looking on the outside, they look capable and successful on the outside, but knowing they're struggling internally because they question their decisions or they are circling ideas and they're not landing. When I know that if you are leading from the foundation of yourself, when you understand why you react the way you do, what motivates you, and the decision-making frameworks that it's within you, then you can lead in a way that is authentic to you. So thank you so much. And and to the newbies who haven't heard of a Leader's Purpose podcast, welcome. Glad you're here. And if this is resonating, DM me. Let's chat. Let's talk. This is something that you don't have to do alone. And typically changes very quickly when you understand what your foundation is. And if you want to chat, TamiMarieCoaching.com/call and get on my calendar. Let's connect. All right. Thank you. Bye for now. Before you go, I just want to say thank you for spending this time with me. I know your attention is valuable and I don't take it lightly. If this episode gave you language for something that you've been carrying, I'd love for you to give me a rate and review on the podcast. This helps the conversation reach others and other leaders who need to hear it. It also helps me see what landed and what you want more of. And if leadership starts to feel heavier than it should, you don't have to figure it out alone. You can book a leadership strategy call in the show notes, TamiMarieCoaching.com/call. And until next time, lead with clarity, stay grounded in who you are, and choose joy until joy chooses you. Bye for now.